Hi everybody, this is Diane. It is time for another installment of my personal journal collection. I'll have one more after this. So you might be more familiar with some of these because some of them are some of my newer journals. This one is older. And this one, this very unique one, is older. So let's just get started. We'll do a flip through. This is probably the oldest one in this batch here, and this was made with my Bind It All. It's a hardcover book that I took apart and I Mod Podged sewing paper. I stenciled on the background and then Mod Podged sewing tissue and a part of a pattern envelope and just glued some flowers and a quote on it. You can see I stenciled a wood grain there. And Mod Podged on the inside. And I did use this journal to write about my study of the book of 1 Peter in the Bible. So it's got a lot of fun things. This little pocket with a tag inside that's bound in. Another bound in pocket. Copy dyed paper. I don't know why this page is torn out. This is a shorthand book page. I made a page shaped like a tag and added a pocket and put some large cards inside it. And then little pockets here. And this is a page from a game, Bible categories. And a glassine bag here, like a sandwich bag with a large tag. A page from a vintage book. This came out of an old scrapbook. And I think this did too. And I used a vintage library pocket on the back, Mod Podged with some scrapbook paper and a doily. And then here's another wire-bound one that is newer, and it's also got a sewing pattern on the front, and I used the back of the pattern envelope on the back. I don't know when I made this. I should put the dates in the ones that I keep, but I don't. This is from a vintage pattern. I made several of these and sold, I think I made 4 and sold 3 of them. This is packaging from a Pioneer Woman throw, I think, and it had a ribbon threaded through these slots and it wrapped around the throw. So I just created a fun piece of ephemera with it. Got some more shorthand paper there and a little snap card. So cute with the monkey on it. An envelope that I covered with This is part of the envelope, but I covered the flap with scrapbook paper and added a flower. I love this little piece. I just punched her out. She was just a scrap from a book page, and I punched it with a circle and added this punch out. And that's a die cut from one of my favorite paper pads. I just got a new collection of that from eBay. I showed that to you recently, the whole paper pad. So I'm happy to have that paper pad in my stash again. That's a acetate page. This is from a notepad, the Daffodil paper, and I glued it to that. Just kind of looks like it belongs there. Another envelope. A paper clip I made with a vintage Stay Puft bottle. It's a piece of washi tape. I have a stamp of this. I just painted on the image after I stamped it. This envelope is really fun. It had these ice cream cones and sprinkles printed on it. So I just covered up the text and put a card in there that you can see through the window. Here is a file folder. It's got my initials, D.H. And this pocket, I think that's a stamp with the splatter design. And that's a washi and an image from an old magazine. It makes a cute pocket. This is all... Oh yeah, that comes out. This is all one piece, 2 doilies and the banner piece. And the same on this side without the banner. Got some little sacks there on a Jane Austen book page. A seam binding wrapper pocket. And there's that one. Now this spiral one is unique. This was a challenge that I did with, I believe it was Junk Journal Junkies. And the challenge was to take fashion images and glue them onto a certain size page card and then cut it into 3 pieces. So you'd have the head and the midsection and the feet and legs, and then put them together, and then you end up with a flip-flop book that mixes and matches the heads. But most of the fashion images that I found in fashion magazines were taller than what the requirement was. So I made this one just on my own for myself. But I wanted to do the swap, so I did, this was the size they were supposed to be. I did find some smaller images, and then I also, like this one is 2 or 3 different images. Must be 2. This is 1 and this is 1. So they don't go together. They're kind of smushed, but that's how I could make that work. So I did some, and whatever the requirement was, I don't remember how many we were supposed to do. And I swapped with my partner. And I guess we weren't supposed to put them together because I got this. See, it's been years, so I don't remember, but I never put them together. So these are the ones my partner made. And it looks like I only have 2 pages. But I think I didn't make all of these, so I think this one. So what I need to do is just make a book with these. I don't know why I didn't. I forgot about them. So I'm going to do that, and I'll show it to you when it's done. So I did make some of these. I don't know if I made that one, but I made these two. So anyway, this is what I ended up making for myself, and I did this for the cover. This is all one image. And so it's really fun. And I put a quote on each one, but I made the quote complete on one of the pieces so it wouldn't be split up. So now they're all 3 different images here. It's just really fun to play with. And I got to do mixed media on the background. It took a while to do this, as you can imagine. There's, I don't know how many pages are in here. 8 pages, and I'm sure that's more than what the requirement was for our project. But I got to do mixed media on the background and then add things to my images, like a ring for her crown. It says, "Today I am living." And she's got a butterfly or a hummingbird charm hanging from her hand, and an emerald behind her, and I put some jewelry behind her to look like wings. And this clock piece is behind her. This monkey was part of the picture, I think. No, I added that monkey. So I had a lot of fun doing this. There. So some of the magazine pictures were perfect because they're just really weird. And I thought they just went really well with this style of book. I love her candy cane striped tights. So I think I said there were 8 pages, so that means there's 16 art projects. And then I had to cut them. But what fun. I like this quote, "Strut lavishly." Life is short, strut lavishly. And that's the back. So you could try this with maybe not fashion models, but whatever you want to try. I just think it's fun. So I'm definitely going to work on putting those other ones together. I think the next oldest in the pile that I have is this one. Child's Garden of Verses, and it's not that old. It's probably a couple years. Did some paper doll collage on the back and a quilt piece on the spine. And if you've watched my channel for a while, you've heard me say many times that this was my favorite book as a child. But I recently found another Child's Garden of Verses little golden book with the same pictures, and you know, sometimes they change the cover. And the cover that I just found, I believe, is the one I had when I was a kid, because it really sparked memories with me. So I remember when I saw this as a junk journaler, someone else had made a book with it, and I loved it. And I loved this image, but this seemed new to me. But the other pages, all the pages in it were what I remembered. But when I saw this other book, I don't have it in here with me, I thought that's the cover I used to have. So anyway, I made a really shabby chic looking pink and turquoise kind of journal here with this book. My style, my favorite book. And I love this illustration too of Mistress Mary, quite contrary. And there's Holly Hobby card in there. It just has a lot of my favorite things. Pink shoes. I mean, cultivate contentment. I put that in there because I need to do that. Love that wrapping paper. And love that post-a-note card. Fold-a-note card. I can glue that envelope shut. That's the other end of that fold-a-note card. So cute. And I put some of my gift tags that I love so much. Vintage gift tags. This is the poem that goes with this picture. A girl reading a book with more books down here, because that's what I used to do. I would have a pile of books next to me, and I would just sit and read. And my sister would always try to get me to play with her. Come on, Diane, let's play. Straw paper. It's another of the gift tags. Put some of my favorite trims in here. This one has 2 pockets. And this is the first antique postcard I bought. I bought it at an antique store. 75 cents. And I love it. These I have the originals of these. I got them at a antique mall, but I made a copy of them. They're florist cards, like business cards, but so beautiful. I made this library pocket with a Tim Holtz wallpaper. More wrapping paper, more stationery. I always loved the fairy tale stories with these tall pointy hats. Little Dutch girl there. And my favorite fiction book, Jane Eyre. That's a Mrs. Coggs library card, digital. Oh, and one more gift tag. Love this book. And this is probably the oldest one that's left. This is a tall ledger book, and I really enjoyed making this. The purpose for making this, has 5 signatures, was to not necessarily write in, but to add in some of the vintage stuff that I wanted to keep. So I added this. These little pieces has my initials and this, and they're Tim Holtz pieces. They're not vintage. And this part is not vintage, ink and paint department, but this part is, and this part is. I covered it with vintage gift wrap on the front and the back, and included a vintage cigarette card and playing card. These are all vintage pieces in here. Price tag. This is one of the James Biles, I think. Folded up receipts. Yep. 1888. I'll put that in later. And a milk ticket. I won't go into great detail over all of the vintage stuff, but just know that everything, I think everything in here is vintage. Get down here. It's a tall book. There's a collage. Another cigarette card. Another James Bile receipt. Biles. Adorable greeting card. These are on a brad. I can write in this if I want to, but the main reason I made it was to keep some of my things, so I would feel more free to use things in my journal, knowing that I had kept some for myself. In the journals that I sell, I mean. It's Niagara Falls here. And I use some of the pages that I love too as the pages. It's a gift tag. A Viewmaster, Colonial Williamsburg. My husband and I went there a couple of times. And a little gift enclosure card. So pretty. Author's card of Louisa May Alcott. Journal page. I added my vintage gold and silver stars, so I'd make sure I kept some of them. This is one of the first vintage ephemera pieces that I found at a kind of a little antique store that's in my town, and it's stationery from the courthouse in Towanda, Pennsylvania, from the 1930s. Love the pink. That's why I saved this. And it's 1901. I'll put that in later too. So when I grew up in East Smithfield, there was a store. We were on a steep hill. We were halfway up the hill or more. And at the bottom of the hill was a little store and post office called Allen and Mitchell. And I think it was Alan. His name was Petey. And we called the store Petey's at my house. That's what I thought it was. It's Petey's. Can we go down to Petey's? They had penny candy. And it was, when we were young, it was hard to walk down that hill because it was steep. And you gain momentum, and it was hard to hold yourself back if you started going too fast, like a child and running or something. But anyway, this was one of my dad's receipts. He bought some nails there in 1972, and I kept it because of the memories of going to Petey's. And my dad and I were just talking about Petey yesterday. I told him, he asked me if I remembered him, and I said no. I didn't pay any attention to grown-ups that I didn't know. No attention whatsoever. I picked out my penny candy and gave him the money. I don't even know what he looked like. But my dad said that's too bad because he was really worth knowing. really liked him, apparently. 1843, another James Biles, and a paycheck, I think, from the railroad company. All right, we better move a little faster. There's a playing card that I loved. I thought that, I don't know how old it was, but it just looks really old. And I thought it was really cute. Maybe I'll take this one out of here and move it to my Dutch journal when I make a Dutch journal, because I talked about that yesterday. Or I don't know what day it is that you saw the video, but I made a video yesterday talking about a Dutch journal with the stuff that my friend Alette sent me from the Netherlands. Advertising card. I kept a nice assortment of vintage ledger papers through here, both in the pages and as tuck-ins. Love this one. Little scraps of vintage wallpaper. I ordered this, I think, from Etsy, knowing that it was just for my collection. I wasn't planning on putting it in a book that I would sell. This book is really fun to look at. I want to keep lingering. This is from 1888, and I love this. Isn't that pretty? And here is one of the Eloise Wilkin nursery rhyme cards. I've got quite a few pictures of Niagara Falls. This is the Cave of the Winds. That was a really nice thing to do. You get soaking wet, but I loved it. 1899 receipt. I love the small size of it. There's a vintage check from 1892. Piece of vellum. This is German. Someone sent this to me. Another Eloise Wilkin card and a calling card and a Chicago transfer coupon for transportation. Someone sent this to me too, I believe. Caramel coated corn bag, and I just loved it, and I wasn't going to pass it on to anybody. I wanted to keep it. And this is a German paper that I'm inserting into it. Had to fold it to make it fit. Love this sale card. This is a vintage seed packet label, and this is vintage. I love it when I find this. This was such a great find, and I love it. They're so rare for me to find. And that's a gift card. Is it? Or, no, that's a bridge tally. So I think I need to make another book similar to this. There's a Home of Santa's Workshop. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I have this. I forgot I did. We went there when I was a child. It's in the Adirondacks, North Pole, USA. It says New York, USA. And it says Home of Santa's Workshop. And we went there. It's got little buildings. It's got this frozen pole that I was amazed. The North Pole is really here. It's just made of ice because it must have had a freezer thing inside it, you know. It just kept it frozen. So I'm really glad I have that. I forgot that I did. This was with the other postcard that I said was the first antique postcard I bought. They were together. There's an old letter in here. I love this little gift card. It's got plastic behind it. Here's my initial on an acetate letter. I got a bunch of those at Antique Mall. This is from Vintage Sheet Music. I'm spending more time on it than I wanted to. That's the spine of this ledger, part of it. Here's a little orange juice bottle cap. My Dairy Man's delivery ledger book. This is my very favorite ledger, pink and purple and turquoise. Here's another one of those gift tags with the plastic behind it. You can see there's a design on the plastic. I've got to hurry. I've got 3 more journals to show you. That's my dad's name. This is a receipt in 1967 from Athens Agway, and that's still open. That's still in town. There's another little plastic envelope with a vintage violet die cut in there. This is just an envelope with, doesn't have any in it, but it came with photo corners, and I found this before I started finding all the vintage photo corners that I have found since then. Okay, there's a vintage Victorian piece and another card that I had ordered from Etsy knowing that I would keep it. It's a Victorian piece right there. And here's my second initial, and this card came with the acetate cards. I got a set of flocked ones and acetate ones all bundled up together. So I took one of each with my initials. A vintage telegram from Western Union. And another vintage card. Beautiful vintage card. A German scrap piece and another receipt. And a playing card. I don't even remember that one. Somebody must have sent that to me. I don't think I bought it. Somebody drew this and I found it in an old cookbook that I bought. And I found these at an antique mall. Thought they were so cool, so I kept one. Yeah, that's a really great journal. So fun. So, like I said, I've acquired so many more new things, new old things, that I need to make another one. All right, so this one is maybe a year old. And I made it with the Garden Girls journal kit. And my friend Pirio had sent me these little tiny linen pieces that have embroidered D and H on them. So I added one to that. So I'm just going to flip through this kind of quickly. Fabric flip. Each of these girls has a different type of produce. So I used produce stamps and images. This is a handkerchief. flyleaf from a botanical book or gardening book. This is embossed. Strawberries. Handkerchief and a seed packet. Another seed packet. I know this book was fun to make. And I sold at least one. I think I made 2 and sold 1. I love my produce stamps too. They're just, I don't know why. I love farmers market images and produce stand images. And I don't even like vegetables. I like fruit. But I just love all those images. We grew vegetables when I was a kid. I used to eat the fresh peas right from the garden, raw peas. I do eat some veggies, I just don't like them. Another handkerchief. What you call it? You know. That botanical book, The Victorian Lady. And I have a cluster that my friend Virginia made before she passed away. I didn't know her personally, but she sent me happy mails with clusters and other things included. And I'm happy that I got to save one for myself. There's that one. And then these were pretty close together, I think. Fun with Music. It's a really old book and in pretty bad shape. But I loved it and I had to use it. So I'm going to be writing my memories about music in here. So I actually think this is more recent than the last book I'm going to show you, but we'll look at it now anyway. Doesn't really matter because I don't think my style evolved from that one to this one very much at all. I love this one with all the music things. I'm not going to take everything out because you may have just seen this not too long ago. Oh, that page is torn. I better put some tape on that. Wrapping paper. I love that. Looking at this book makes me happy. So that's why I keep some journals for myself. Because I love my supplies, my vintage things, and it makes me happy to be able to keep some in a pretty book for myself. Love that trim there. There's Beethoven. Some music game cards in here and flashcards. This is a file folder, or at least the tab of a file folder. Oh yeah, this part right here is a file folder. And this is the envelope that actually had the opera tickets that came in it. So cool. 1930. I was so delighted to find them in there. Just something fun to add on the edge of a page. Wrapping paper. I made, oh, I guess this goes in here. These two go up here, because this pocket doesn't go all the way down. They go there, and this goes back here. So it's actually got 3 pockets. Pretty trim. This is a negative envelope. I put some flashcards in there and a tag that I made. I got these treble clef paper clips in a Happy Mail and was delighted to be able to use them. This came out of a book. It's the orchestra, how an orchestra is set up. And I made this. Does it open? Yeah, it does. It's got the orchestra in here. So they were all part of one page. There's some millinery flowers. I just got some more in a Happy Mail, a ton of millinery flowers. Mallow cup. Little cards that you would save, points. I found a baggie of them at the flea market last year, and it was thrilling to me. Who else would want them? I don't know. 3 little pockets there. Coin wrapper. I'd never seen a coin wrapper like that. Somebody sent it to me. This is a vintage piece. I cut it off. I think it was a collar. I cut off because I've had it and I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. So I thought I'm just going to cut it and glue a piece in here. So now I have the other pieces that I'm sure I will get to use now that I've cut it apart. And this was a little record that came with a Kenmore something. I don't know what Kenmore appliance it came with, but I thought it was really cool. And the last one I'm going to show you today is my Mother Goose, my Romney Gay Mother Goose. It's got the pastel colored beads on the side that I love, and this stretchy. I wanted to buy more of these, and I can't find them anymore. Made me sad. I got those in the sewing department at Hobby Lobby. They don't have them. And this is printed fabric. It's not actually patchwork. It's a newer fabric. And I believe it's from Kathy Holden. These are things that I kept to journal with. So I'll just set them aside. Just pages from the book. Again, this is a fairly new book. That's an ink blotter. So I'll just look through it because I think we're running out of time. Wallpaper. I used vintage items and digital items. That's from an actual pattern catalog. This is a digital from KB and Friends. This is from a book, and this is a digital. This is a real label, vintage label. this is a real label. So this is a pocket here. That's vintage wrapping paper on the background. And this is a pocket here. And that's from an old magazine. So the center of this is mostly writing paper. I made it with the backing part of a Courier and Ives calendar, and I kept the tab part. Well, I guess I had to reattach it there. That was the part that hung the calendar. This is a vintage pattern cover, and that's a vintage book page. And a vintage greeting card. So the rest of this is writing paper. I used one wrapping paper and I think one pattern catalog page, but there's lots of writing space in this center signature. And on the back, I made this pocket with a digital. This is a vintage flashcard. And a vintage label and game money. And 2 digitals. Oh, and that's a pocket. And then the last signature has a fun Dick and Jane pocket and this menu card that I've had for a long time and could never put into a journal that I sold. So I put it in here and it's mine forever now. Elmira Water Board bill envelope, I believe, to pay your bill. This is embroidered. Wallpaper border. This is from an old magazine. This is a digital flash card. Popcorn bag. This is a Amity Bloom piece, I think, the tag. Wrapping paper. This is a page from this Romney Gay book. This was a fun tuck spot to make with some digitals and a ticket. And some leftover scrapbook pieces, scrapbook paper. A vintage BB Bats. This is probably something we bought at Petey's General Store. That's from a sewing pattern. This is a vintage milk, evaporated milk label, massage cream label, and blackberry label, can label. Yeah, these books have so many things I treasure in them. And I have all this stuff to play with when I start working in this book. All right, so that's this episode. I think it's a longer one than other ones have been. So the next one will be the last one, and it is mostly, I think, collage and glue books. So come on back for that one, and when I get this done, put together, I'll show it to you. Thanks so much for your comments, your wonderful comments on this whole series so far. And did you have a favorite of this batch that I showed you? I can't pick one, so if I had to, it would be the big ledger one with all the stuff that I saved for myself. So I'll be back with another video another day, and I hope that you'll join me then. Have a creative day. Bye.